All right, so now we're in Exodus chapter 2, and it's just we get into the life and the birth of Moses and some early struggles he had. And I think this is a great picture for us of something that I hope you'll see too. So it starts out that a man from the family of Levi married a Levite woman, and these are Moses's parents. Now, the interesting thing about that is that I believe it was Genesis 49, when Jacob was blessing all of his sons, he attributed violence to Levi and another brother. I can't remember which one it was, but it was Levi and I think Simeon. Those were the two that were violent in the past, regarding their sister being raped. And so it's interesting that that is the line that Moses is born of. And we're going to see that he's going to be violent here in just a little bit. But that's the line that God decided to give us the law. And the law is preparing us for a Savior. The law is showing us how much God hates sin, that we have an issue here on earth, and that is sin. Sin is an issue that there needs to be this cleaning and this purity. There needs to be rules. And then Jesus will put those rules in our heart. And so just think about that the law came through Moses. The law came through the line of Levi. But Jesus came through the line of Judah. And I think there's a lot to learn and a lot to know in that. So, of course, Moses is born in a time where Pharaoh is trying to kill all the Hebrew boys. He wants them all dead. And so the midwives are told to throw them in the river. Well, Moses' mom has Moses, doesn't want to kill him. And so she makes a basket and makes it waterproof and puts him in the Nile, in the river, and asks his sister to just keep an eye on him from a distance, and she does. And then Pharaoh's daughter comes and picks him up, and she names him Moses because that means out of the water. And then the great thing is Moses' sister talks to Pharaoh's daughter and says, "Hey, do you want me to go get a Hebrew woman to nurse him?" And so she gets Moses' mom, and Moses' mom gets paid to do what she yearns to do. Isn't that amazing? And I think it's that way for us. That's how ministry works. That, when you accept God as your Lord and Jesus as your Lord and your Savior, He changes your heart, and He gives you these intense desires to just help the world with truth. And you get eternal rewards for that. Isn't that amazing? It's like you're getting paid to do what you yearn to do, because, man, if you're a Christian, it's just Jesus said it's more blessed to give than to receive. You just want to help people. And so we get paid for helping people, and I think that's just something we yearn for, and that's what Moses' mom yearned for. She just wanted to take care of and nurse her child, and she's got paid for that. So it's really cool how God worked that out. And then he grows up, and he knows who he is. He knows he's an Israelite in Egypt, but he is an Israelite. And so later he sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his people, and he tried to look around to make sure that no one could see, and he killed this Egyptian. So, man, I guess we could say that the Levites have a great sense of justice, right? And that's what the law gives us, a great sense of justice, that, man, sin leads to death, and we need to know that. We have rebelled against God. We have made ourselves unclean in God's sight. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. So it's so appropriate that Moses has a great sense of justice. Levi had a great sense of justice, and God's going to give us the law, which is all about justice. And then, of course, Jesus will come with grace and truth and set us free. That God is both just and loving, and He's gonna put that justice on Himself. He's gonna kill Himself for our sin, because He has to be just, and He's also infinitely loving. So, man, what's this a picture? And then, of course, he realizes later that people found out, people know about him killing this Egyptian, so he flees to Midian, and we'll get into that later. But right now, I think Moses is a great picture of a Christian. Right? He is born physically in an environment that is trying to kill that birth, right? And stop that birth. And so you and I, we are born again. We are spiritually born in an environment where the spirit of the Antichrist, not the Antichrist himself, but the Bible tells us there's a spirit of Antichrist. It's trying to stop Christianity. It's trying to stop people being born from above And so we're born in that same environment. And then Moses is put in the water and taken out of the water, which is a great picture of baptism. Sure, he's in the basket, so he doesn't technically go into the water, but it's a great picture of him going in and coming out, just like we're baptized. And then he is raised in the house of Pharaoh. He's an Israelite being raised in Egypt. And that's what we are. We are sons of and daughters of God, of heaven, being raised on earth, which these are two different places, right? So as he's an Israelite being raised in Egypt, we are born from heaven, and we are being raised on earth. And we love our people. We yearn for our people, which is the children of God. And we're trying to defend our people from the world, not the people of the world. We're trying to help the people of the world, but we're trying to rescue the truth from the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the boastful pride of life. So it's so amazing how Moses knew who he was. He knows his lineage, and you and I need to focus on our lineage. And so what we see is that Moses fails here, right? He has this sense that I have got to do something. I've got to protect my people from Egypt. And you and I should have that same yearning, that we've got to protect the truth from the lies of this world. And he fails at first. And I think that's how it is with us, that, man, look at Peter, right? He failed so many times. He denied Jesus when Jesus was crucified. So there's this picture of a dip that we have this sense that we've got to do something to help, and then we fail. And then what we see is it leads to humility and trusting God, and then God can really use us. So we take off. It's kind of like Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down, Bitcoin takes off, and that it keeps going through that cycle. And this is not investing advice, but that's how it is, man. You see that with Peter. You see that with Paul. Paul had this great sense that I've got to stop Christianity. There's a false view of God, and I need to stop it. And so he started to put Christians in prison, and then God met him, and he had to go through humility and trusting in God. And then he started to fight the real problem, which was the law, that people should not try to obey the law, but they're saved by grace through faith. And so, man, that's how it is in our life. So don't be surprised if you're like Moses. You realize who you're from, where you're from. You realize you're born from above. You've got to do something to fight lies in this world, and you go after it. And don't be surprised if you experience failure. That failure is meant to get you to trust God and be humble. And then God can use you, which we're going to see. That's what he does with Moses. And then bam, so much salvation, right? That Moses gets to lead the people out of Egypt. And it's through Moses that we got the law, which was necessary for a savior. So man, may you don't stop trying. Try to minister, but don't be shocked if you fail. And that failure means that you feel like you're going the opposite direction. But that's God making you humble and reliant on him, so that he can really use you in the future.